Yeah, hello, this is day one, week one, and I'm going to tell you what happened today. I'm going to give you some tips, tell you my random thoughts, and really the theme for today is all about onboarding. And today started, I got an email from my line manager, so I was able to set up my email account. Obviously, I had some challenges, and I did contact the help desk, and that was resolved as soon as possible, which was quite good. As you can imagine, immediately I got my email set up, I found out I had a number of meeting invites which I responded to, and there were lots of documents sent to me. I also found out I had access to the Teams environment, so I got lots of documents and information sent to me via Teams as well. I attended a number of meetings, one of them being the stand-up meeting where I met a number of the team members. I also had a meeting with the project manager to understand where the project's at, what the challenges are, and where exactly I'll be needed. And having that meeting, I found out that they've already started development work with the vendors, so they need the BA to refine the user stories and feed it to the development team so development can continue. And based on what's happened today, day one, I have a few tips around document and folder management. This will really help you, make you more efficient if you start this ASAP, do it as soon as possible. So step one is you create a folder within your email app and title it, for example, knowledge management. If you don't know how to create a folder in Outlook, I have a video which will put the link in the description. Step two, you create a folder on your desktop titled knowledge management. I have a link for that too as well. I have a video showing how to create a folder on your desktop. Step three, within your favorite folder of your browser, create a folder titled knowledge management. I also have a video showing how you can create a folder for all your URLs. And once you've done that, that makes it easy for you to manage anything that's thrown at you. So for example, scenario A, you receive an email with information about your project from your line manager. First thing you do is move the email into the knowledge management folder within your email application. Rename the email if you need to, email file, to something that makes sense to you. And check if there's an attachment. You download that attachment and save it to your desktop. Remember that folder we created, knowledge management folder. Save all your download files to that folder. Another scenario is where you receive a URL to some documents via Teams or even within your email sent in Outlook. So what you do is click on the email, you bookmark that URL and save it to a folder. The folder you would have created would be the knowledge management folder we spoke about earlier. So you put every URL you get, you put it in that folder. It makes it very easy so you can get all your URLs and don't faff around, just go straight to that folder within the bookmark. Once you've ensured, another thing is to label your URL so it makes sense to you, and then check that URL if there's any attachments or documents you need to download. If there's an attachment, or download it, and as usual you save it to your folder on your desktop. Another tip for day one is you have to know how to process all the documents and files you get sent. So first things first, I would say is quickly browse through all the documents you have, and the reason for this is to determine how big these documents are and the content. So any document less than 10 pages, I would say deal with them as soon as possible, go through them, have a quick browse, get a feel for what the document is all about, get the major gist out of the document. Next thing is all the documents you've identified as high level. When I say high level, these are documents program related, project related. So for example, you have your project initiation document, your feasibility study paper, your project plan, or your options paper, anything to do with the project or the program. I group them as high level documents. Go through these documents to get a feel for what the project or program is all about, what's the trigger, what's created this transformation, or who's behind it. Go through those documents, have a quick browse. The next thing you do, having gone through all those documents, is to go through what I call product related documents. These could be technical requirements, functional descriptions from the vendors, it could be the user stories. These documents are quite detailed, so I would say spend some time trying to understand what's going on. You're going to have lots of questions, write them down. And that leads me to the next tip. When you go through these documents, you're going to have questions, you're going to have some concerns or just random thoughts. Write them down. Most importantly, write down the document that triggered these thoughts and even the page. So when you're referring, or we need to refer to documents, it's easy to say to identify the document where you have some questions. If is it to do with the stakeholder document you have, is it to do with feasibility study documents you have. So write down every question you have, every concern you have, random thoughts, but most importantly, note the document and note the page. The next tip for day one is have a checklist of things you must have access to. So check with your line manager, do you have access to Office 365? Do you have access to Microsoft Teams? How about DevOps or Jira? Do you have Microsoft Visio or whatever tool they use within the organization? And other access you might need might be the sandbox environment or the portal, sandbox environment or the portal, test portal they have. You just want to find out how easy it is to get access and make sure the checklist, you have a checklist to check that everything's done. Another tip for onboarding is make sure you write down your password, note it, because you might have to try a few times to get the password right. So if a password you've created is wrong, cross it out and make sure you adhere to the format of the organization. If they want alphanumeric, then go ahead, knock yourself out. Another thing is if you've sent a laptop, make sure you note the asset number of that laptop. This really helps, especially if you need to contact help desk. Leading to the next tip is help desk number. Make sure you write it down as well as the email address, because sometimes your email account might not be set up properly, and therefore you can't email them. So your best bet is to phone them. And most importantly, identify the authenticating app that they're going to be using so you can download it ASAP so your onboarding process is as smooth as possible. And that's it for tips. As per my random thoughts, I have a meeting with the vendor, kind of keen to know how they work and how soon they want user stories from me so they can get their development cycle on. I have concerns about the documents I have to read. There's a lot of documents I have to read, so I need to follow the format, the process I recommended earlier. Deal with the ones less than 10 pages, then follow up with the program documents, and then product level documents. And because the vendors have started development, I'm quite keen to have access to the DevOps environment. So I'm going to be nagging my line manager to ensure I get the access as soon as possible. And talking about BA concepts, as is analysis, you start there right away. I need to understand what's happening, and that's all part of the as is analysis, what's happening now from a people's point of view, from process point of view, from technology point of view. So I need to understand what's happening now, what the challenges are, how far, what are the vendors doing, how far have they gone in their development, and what's happening in terms of testing, in terms of feedback. Then stakeholder identification, that's already started because the meeting I had with the project manager and a few names were mentioned. So I need to start noting the names and end users because I need to meet up with them and understand what the requirements are. Because part of validation is making sure that they know what they want and they understand what they've asked for. The focus being what, not necessarily the how. And that for me is the end of day one. So next video will be about day two, and I hope you will be with me on that journey. Thank you.